I want to get to know you, Mom. You've been around my life, all my life, and
Forever.
I feel like I hardly know you.
Oh,
So,
that's the relation. That's the parent-child relationship.
right. So you know all
I
about
don't
you.
know.
You
Do I know my mom? I don't know.
oh gosh.
I know my mom, but
Uh, wait,
probably.
that's the perfect angle. Just leave it like that. Don't touch it.
All right.
Oh, are you holding it still?
I'm holding it with my foot.
You're pretty resourceful. Okay.
That's what happens when you got
How
shaky
come your
hands.
foot's so much more competent than your hands? Anyway, so I want to know about you and your earliest memories of, because I think we were just talking about how some of your fondest memories were of your grandmother. You can start
Well,
there. So who is this grandmother, and tell me about those memories.
it's my grandma Jackson, my paternal grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and uh, I was born while Dad was in the Pacific during World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and he when he left, that just mom just had just found out she was pregnant,
Oh wow.
and in fact, she told me there was this. He came home from work and he said, "Oh, I have some important news." And she said, "Well, I have some important news
Uh
too."
oh.
And, then they had to talk about, have I told you this before? Then they had to
No.
figure out who's going first. And, finally, okay, mom's going first. And
Oh,
my
who's gonna go?
mom's,
Who's gonna tell the story first?
who's going to say their news because
Okay.
they
Yeah.
both have
They had
news.
both had news.
Yeah. And mom says, "I'm pregnant again." And dad says, "Oh, I joined the Navy. So I'm going to be leaving."
So good luck. So good luck
That's
with
how
that
my
baby.
that's how my life started.
So good luck with that baby.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
So
uh,
is this nurtured in you feelings of resentment?
no, no, I got a lot of other things for that. No, the way mom explained it is he'd been in the army and he hated it. So when the
Mm-hmm.
war started, at first they weren't taking older. He was in his mid 20s by then, and they weren't taking married men or fathers or, they wanted young kids to do anything.
That would just
And,
storm the
huh?
enemy. That would just storm the beaches without question. Without
Yeah,
question.
yeah. They don't want anybody trying to be careful so they can go back home again. Anyway, I don't know. I just threw that in.
Wow.
Um, so, anyway, when they started taking married men, he thought, "I don't want to get drafted in the army again, so I'm going to go into the Navy." Is
Hmm.
it-
Wait, you
it-
said I don't want to get drafted in the army again. Was he drafted in the
Yeah, I
army before?
told you. Well, I don't. I guess he was drafted. I don't know. It was during the. I never knew if he was drafted or if he just joined the army out of desperation.
Well,
Because
but you said so. He
I
joined the army. Then what became of that?
well, I had a miserable time. I don't know. Shot himself in the foot. I don't know.
Oh, so
He
he went through like basic training, and then he's like, join me up, sign me up with the Navy because I don't like this. I don't like this army thing.
No, no, you can't just do that. I don't know how he left. Maybe he just served his time and came out. But when they started taking married men, he said, "I'm not going back in the army. I'm going to join the Navy." So he joined the Navy
Did he really shoot
to,
himself in the foot?
I don't know.
I
I
think you
don't
would have
know.
known that. I mean, you would have known if he shot himself in the foot, right?
You think my parents told me stuff like that?
Well, he probably would have walked with a bit of a limp, don't you
I don't
think?
know, Lee. I don't know. It's
I'm
a
just trying to
story.
get to the bottom of this
It's a
whole.
thing I've gotten in my head and I have no idea.
Okay, well, maybe you can ask around one of your siblings.
Well, it's not something people would talk about. That was a shameful thing to shoot yourself in the foot to get
Well,
out of
what are
the
you
army.
doing spreading shameful rumors about your father if you don't
Ah,
know
he's
the
long
details?
dead.
I mean, this is for posterity, so I'm just trying to
Oh,
get to.
okay. Well, erase that.
So,
Erase
okay,
that.
no, I'm just saying. So we don't know. We're just.
Yeah, we don't know.
When you said that, I thought you were joking. So let's
No,
leave it at.
no, I am kind of joking because I don't know 100%. But he didn't want to go back to working in the oil fields. I mean, Grandpa did that, and his two brothers did that. That's all, and he didn't do it, so I figure he hated it.
Uh, enough about your dad. That's not important. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like, so he must have really hated those oil rigs if
Well, it
joining,
was
like fighting in World War II was a better option for him than
well,
drilling
no, he
oil.
was going to get drafted. He was convinced he was going to get drafted, and then they did start taking. I mean, this was like
Okay,
3 years into the war,
right.
so they started having to get
Older
get
men.
the married guys, get the
Yeah.
older guys.
I mean, he was married. He wasn't necessarily older though. He was in his 20s, right?
That's old. They want guys 19 is the prime is the.
Well, I mean, I know
I
that, but I mean,
mean, yeah,
yeah. Okay. All right. So you were born in Effingham, Illinois in 1944, April 25th.
yes, we were living with Grandma and Grandpa
Oh,
Forsman.
no. Wait, you didn't correct me. I said April 25th. It's April 22nd.
Okay.
You should have
Well,
corrected
I
me.
see.
I was
I don't
testing
go
you.
by anything you say, so I
I was
wasn't.
testing you. You're supposed to be on the ball
No,
and say that's incorrect, son.
no, no.
All right.
No,
Well,
okay,
I
I'll
said
try.
25th because that's Katie. That's June 25th.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so April
Anyway,
22nd.
right.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then, I wish I could find these. I think a couple of mom had five sisters or four sisters. I think there were five
Mhm.
girls,
Yeah.
and I think a couple of them were living in uh,
Effingham.
with. No, it wasn't Effingham.
Flora.
Flora.
Okay.
The hospital was just in Effingham,
Oh, right. But
which is another story.
your mom's
Um,
parents lived in Flora,
Flora,
which is
right?
why you were born there instead of Texas because your mom was living with her parents during this pregnancy when her husband was off to war, right?
Well,
I mean, she didn't normally live with her parents in Flora.
no, maybe that conversation didn't take place because maybe that conversation was in Texas.
What
I
con-
may have. I was born in Illinois, but I may have been conceived in Texas because
No,
they
no, no.
had been
I'm
living.
just talking about what when you were born. You were born in Illinois.
Yes,
And what I'm saying is during that time your dad was at war in the Pacific, and so your
yes,
mother was living with her presumably with her parents in
yes,
Florida. Yeah. What?
yes,
Wait, is am I frustrating you? I'm
yes.
just trying to clarify for posterity. They don't know. The posterity people out there don't know that. So I'm just we haven't said this yet that your mom was living with her parents.
Yeah,
Okay.
mom was living with her
I'm just making
parents.
that clear.
All right.
This is what I have
Well,
to
I'm
deal
just
with.
talking
See
to
this mom
you.
I have to
How
deal with? She gets
frustrating.
frustrated with me for no reason. Okay,
I,
sorry.
this room got too hot. That's
Oh,
the
I'm
reason I
sorry.
had to get up and open a window because
Okay.
I dropped the
This, the
remote controls to the fan, and it
okay.
broke. It fell like a foot onto the floor and
Oh,
just exploded. And I
oh,
can't put it back together. And I forgot to ask Clayton to do it.
oh no.
I mean,
Can you
it's
adjust your fan just without the remote control, or do you need the remote
I
control?
don't know how. I
Okay.
mean, you see that this is the thing. I get stopped from doing so much because I don't know how to do anything. And with this remote control, it's not so much I might be able to figure it out, but it's so delicate. It's tiny,
Mm,
and I don't do tiny things because of my
right.
shaky hands. I
Right.
got no,
Well,
you
I'll
know.
be there in a few months, but I'm sure you can. Maybe I can get Kevin. Maybe I can send Kevin over there for you.
The weather's getting cooler, so it's after today. It'll
Right.
probably just be fine.
Right.
But yeah,
Anyway,
when you're here, let's take care of it, even
okay.
though I won't need it before.
Let's get back to the reminiscence.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
So
actually, this isn't reminiscence for me because I don't. I wish they were different. I just don't remember grandma and grandpa,
you don't remember
the
being
house.
born?
I don't remember. When you know the pictures of the house,
Mm.
that that porch looks so familiar to
Wait,
me.
you're
That,
saying you don't remember your maternal grandparents?
well, I certainly remember grandma because she should take the train down to see us. But
Okay.
I don't remember grandpa.
You don't remember
No.
the house?
Well, I was just saying, when I see pictures of that house, that it looks so familiar to me, and that enormous
Mm.
porch looks so familiar, you know.
Right. Right.
But no, I don't really have
Yeah.
remember.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of some of my earliest memories. I have photographs of like that house in South Bend, and I feel like I still have memories of that house in South Bend, and I'm kind of glad I have those photos of South Bend, Indiana, because if I didn't have those photos to kind of reinstill those images into my memory, I don't know. I don't know if those memories would still be there if it weren't for those photos that we have of that
Right,
old home.
photos help.
Uh, but anyway, so tell me about your memories of your grandma Forsman, which is your
Oh, she was great. I
your maternal
knew
grandmother.
she was wonderful, and you know I knew Grandma Jackson better because I saw her more often.
Mm-hmm.
But she'd come visit us, and you know the thing about grandma and my grandmas, you know they were products of the 19th century, and they were very ladylike, you know, and they
That's
were a
great.
product of their times. They always wore dresses.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw either one of them in a pantsuit or you know, slacks. You
Right.
know, they were always very,
Yeah.
very ladylike and of their time, you
When you
know.
said she came down to visit you and took a train to come visit you, was that in Texas?
Yes,
So she came from Illinois to Palacios.
yes. Apparently, somebody would take her to the train station in St. Louis, which was pretty close to Flora.
Mm-hmm.
And she would get off the train. It used to go all the way to Palacios, but she'd get off in Blessing, which is a town even smaller than Palacios,
Mm-hmm.
about 10 miles up the road.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she'd call and, you know, Gracie, come pick me up. I'm in
Oh,
town. And
great.
no warning. My mother told me after I was an adult that she gave no warning.
That
The
she was
phone
coming
would
to visit?
ring. Yeah. And she wrote often. Would get
Mm.
letters from Grandma Forsman, but it was like, and my poor mom, you know, family of 8. There are 8
Mm-hmm.
people living in this house of
Right. And now
a
there's
thousand
9.
square feet.
Right.
And, you know, of course, they'd give her the best bed and
But
all
it's her own
that.
mother,
And
so maybe there's a sense that she can actually help instead of hinder.
yeah, but I'm talking about room.
Oh,
I'm
room.
talking about where for her to sleep and things like that.
Just put her in the cupboard. Where did she sleep? On the floor?
She got the best bed. She got my parents'
That's
bed.
funny
My
because when
parents
Spencer came to visit me, he got the best bed.
did he?
Of course.
No. No, you shouldn't
Anyway,
do that. You shouldn't do that, Lee.
well, okay, fine. Next time I will give him far worse accommodations.
What about what about
Mom, why is your
Ken?
knee hiked up like that?
Because I'm home, I'm relaxing, I'm in
Okay,
my pajamas, I'm
okay.
in bed.
Because you were just talking about how ladylike your grandparents were.
I'm not from the 19th
I'm
century.
just kidding. This is a joke. So anyway, back to so yeah, it's funny because like I mean, you said your grandma didn't warn your mom that she was coming, and of course that sounds so strange to us now with text messages and stuff.
Right.
But I remember, when we used to visit Albuquerque and visit, Dad's relatives, Gary would, his dad's brother, would complain like,
I know who Gary
I
is.
no, this is posterity, Mom, posterity.
I said, "Well, get the posterity out of here. This is a personal conversation."
Well, if anyone, yeah. Anyway, is just to help you, at least for my kids, maybe. I don't know, just people who just.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I mean, you're going to type it up or something,
I'm
right?
not typing it. No, this is it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
eventually I
yeah.
might type. Eventually I might type it up. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Anyway,
I don't
so
want
my
people.
point is that if you recall, like Gary complained once or twice, like, "Oh, Larry, you didn't tell me you were coming." Remember that to
Well,
Albuquerque?
yeah, nobody did that. I think she was just so. I mean, she's visiting as her daughter. She's.
So,
I
right.
mean,
You don't have to like send a proclamation. You're just swinging by. You're just saying hello.
yeah,
It's your daughter.
but she's coming for a while. She's bringing a suitcase. She's.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine.
I, my mom had. My mom didn't have a easy life, and I just. I mean,
All right.
uh,
Okay.
she could have used a heads up.
That's fine. All right. So, how about switch lenses and talk about the Jackson clan and your
All
memory of
right,
them.
all right.
And so these are Texans. I assume you have more connection or contact with them because you were raised in Texas.
Guess this is for the audience. You're not
What?
telling me about being raised in Texas, are you?
I'm just, Mom. You're getting into a really bad mood here. Let's just talk. I'm saying I'm
Okay.
interviewing you. I'm saying
All right.
Sherilyn. No, mother. I've already addressed you as mother. I'm saying you have a closer connection to the Jacksons, and I'm parenthetical statement is not because you love the Jacksons more, but because you were raised in Texas.
Well, you don't have to tell me those things. I know, and I know you. And when you say I'm doing it for the audience, that kind of confuses me.
All right. Well, anyway, so tell us about the Jacksons.
Oh, they were lovely people. No, I loved my
Who? Okay,
grandparents.
here's a question for you. Here's a question. Of all your ancestors or relatives or their kin, like your great aunt. I know you had a great aunt that you visited.
I had a
You had
bunch of great.
okay, and they were like Jackson clan. So, which of them was the most old timey and like the oldest? Like, did you know
And,
anyone that was born in the mid to early 19th century growing up?
well,
Since you grew up in the 40s and 50s, did you know anyone who was like super old who grew up in the middle of the 19th century?
I I knew uh, Grandpa's el- eldest sibling, Aunt Aura.
Okay. So this is your paternal
My great.
grandfather's oldest sibling.
Yes.
Okay, and do you know her birth date or anything like that?
God, no, no.
An
It's,
approximation? She's just old.
well, 1880s. You know, I think Grandpa was born in 1888, and she was a bunch of years older than him, at least 5 to 10 years older than him.
Right. So they were probably in their 70s. It's 1880 to 1950, right?
Yeah.
So the 50s. Okay. They're in their 70s. So they're not like 90s. Okay. You don't know anyone older than that?
Well, eventually, my grandmother was older than that. I mean, yeah, God, yeah. This isn't the conversation I thought it was going to be.
No,
I'm not doing
this is a
math in my head,
preface.
okay?
This is a preface.
No prefaces, no
Okay, all
math
right.
in my
You want to
head.
get off the ancestors and just talk about yourself? Is that what you're trying to
No,
say?
I love to talk about my kin.
Okay, well, why isn't this the conversation then? I'm just trying to
Because you're
prompt.
talking about when people were born, and I can
I'm
tell you
this.
when they were born, and
Okay. You don't have to. You don't have to tell me
they
when
were
they
in
were
their
born. I'm just trying
70s.
to
Well, I
say,
don't know when
look.
they were in their 70s. Do the
All right,
math.
this is our oldest. This is our first conversation. I was thinking, let me try to get to your memory of your oldest ancestor, if you have one.
That I was acquainted with, that would be Aunt Aura.
Okay, so tell me about her.
Oh, she's very colorful. Actually, yeah, did you ever see those old movies? Old movies from black and white movies from the 50s? Ma and Pa Kettle. Did you ever see any of those?
Maybe Ma and Pa, like
Ma and Pa Kettle.
Ma and Pa Kettle. I'll have to look it up.
Okay. She was just like Ma Kettle, only without the humor. Ma and Pa Kettle series was funny.
Okay.
They had this farm and things went wrong and all
Yeah.
this stuff, and it was kind of lowbrow
Yeah.
movies in the
Didn't she say she
40s.
made her own soup or soap?
Yeah,
Made her own everything, probably.
she made her own everything. She didn't have electricity. She didn't have running water.
Wow.
She had one of those old fashioned stoves. You make little fires inside of it, and
Oh
you
wow.
know, and there's a big pot
Wait, as
belly.
opposed to the stoves that you make something else inside of?
You start a fire and start inside the
Okay.
cast iron stove.
Oh, she had a cast iron stove. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, and they had a potbelly stove in the middle of the room, and I don't remember a chimney or anything, but they had those things.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised sheep and probably goats and
And
Brahma
kids.
bulls. No, they had no children. She had one
Oh.
child who died. That mom
Oh,
told me
that's
later
sad.
on. No, they didn't have any kids,
That's
and
sad
they
because her brother, your grandfather, had how many kids? Like 9? I'm just guessing. I know they had a
they
lot.
had 3 children.
What?
Grandma and Grandpa Jackson had 3 children,
Okay, maybe
three
I'm
boys.
thinking of
You're thinking of his
his
parents.
parents, right? Because I've seen photos. John Lee Jackson. They had like, or Ace. I'm sorry,
No,
Asa.
no, Grandpa was Asa.
Grandpa was Asa Claude. His father, John Lee.
All right.
Is that right?
Yeah, John Lee and
John Lee Jackson.
Mary Frances had
Mary Frances Clark had like tons of kids.
tons of kids. Well,
Right.
you've seen the picture.
I've seen the picture. Maybe I'll
Okay.
pop the picture up on the screen here in post production.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, any other memories about Aura or Aunt Aura or anyone else from that era?
No, she wasn't. You know, she was the oldest girl.
Right.
And, you know, I'm sure she was in the position of Mary. She was given a lot of babysitting to do, and she
Yeah.
resented because
Right.
I don't remember any, like with Grandma and Grandpa, they were very nice to me. They, were always, they're very nice, the little kids, if you're nice to them, they'll love you forever and they'll have happy memories of you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I remember Anora, but I remember her working,
Mm.
with the big pot belly cattle, thing
Yeah.
outside, making soap and, doing all kinds of things. Just the most brutal, backbreaking labor. But that picture, the picture, I have of them, she looks like a teenage girl and she's beautiful.
Wow.
You know, she
Maybe you'll have to
she
send me
did
the picture. I don't think I've actually seen that picture. Maybe I
she's
have.
she she looked like she was a pretty girl, but she was very weather worn and everything because she was old and she worked to death.
Right.
But
Oh,
you know,
mom, worked to death. I think you're exaggerating a little bit. She's not worked
it's
to
an
death.
expression.
Okay. She's still alive.
Get on my nerves.
Okay. All right. Um. Yeah. Okay.
And the other two great aunts I remember is um, Aunt Roxy, who's my favorite, and Aunt Aura.
We were just
And
talking about Anna Aura.
Roxy and Olga.
Olga.
And Olga. Yes.
Well, how'd you get those
They,
names
they,
confused? Olga and
Olga and
Aura.
Aura.
Right. I was joking.
Are you trying to get on my nerves?
No, I was just trying to just be playful, keep it light. Just using the old
No, they were
charm.
very funny people. They were very funny people. And I only found this out as not that many years ago, that they had both been they had both worked in
Vaudeville.
the state home for the insane.
Okay.
Because I worked at Brown School and we were on the subject once of all of us who had worked at Brown School, because Clark had worked at Brown School, Robert had worked at Brown School, I'd worked at Brown School, Jane had worked at Brown School. All the people. And
So what's
Clark
Brown
said,
School?
"It's where your father and I met. We're school for
Sorry. It's a Brown School. It's a home for a school for
problem
troubled.
children."
Yeah.
Problem children who've been taken from their home and awarded to the state.
Ooh, wow. Okay. And then you had to deal with those people.
No, but Clark was making the point that, yeah, a lot of this generation is working at Brown School, but Aunt Aura and Aunt Roxy worked at the state institution for the
The
crazy people.
the criminally insane.
Yes, not criminally insane. They were, where they just locked people up and threw away the keys because we didn't have any, psychotropic drugs.
So so do you think your experience at the Brown School dealing with these troubled
Problem
children,
kids.
problem
Yes.
kids, gave you any insight or developed any skills that you later used in rearing your own children?
Yes, and being a substitute school teacher and working at
Okay,
all kinds of places. Yeah,
great.
and with life.
Right. Learn how to not take
You don't take any guff.
any guff. Good. Don't take any
Yeah,
guff. Okay.
I try not to take it.
All right. Well, great. You want to keep going, or do you want to take a rest, or do you want to do more some other time?
We can go a little further.
Okay. So so far we've covered kind of your kinfolk. Any kinfolk you want to talk about some more, or do you want to move on to yourself?
Oh,
We
I'd
kind of
rather
didn't
talk
really talk
about.
about your your grandparents on your dad's side. We could do them
Oh,
some
well,
other time if you want to talk about yourself now.
no, I don't want to talk about
Okay. This
myself.
is of course this is all about talking about yourself. This is
Oh
where you
no,
get it all out. I am your
no,
therapist.
God, I didn't sign up for this.
I am your psychologist and
God help,
your confessor all in one.
God help us.
You are
No, I'd
absolved.
rather. No, look. I, I, after Dad apparently came back, and you know, Mom and Dad and Clark and Mary and I uh, came down to Texas and moved in with Grandma and Grandpa Jackson. It was like a fairyland. I mean, she had And this is where my memories start. She had these cute little bantam hens out in the backyard.
You're talking about your paternal grandma.
Grandma, oh, grandma and grandpa.
Great ma, as you
And,
call her.
um,
She had
you
what?
know, bantam hens, chickens, bantam chickens,
Bantam
tiny little
chickens.
chickens, like
I
little
thought you said
squatty chickens.
I thought you said phantom chickens.
Look it up, bantam,
Ba-
Batam. Anyway,
okay,
and so there was eggs, and she had a cow
that sounds
and
fun.
a calf, and then the calf disappeared. But just to make it a milk cow.
So they
So
lived in they lived around Austin, and you guys lived in Palacios. So did you just take a train or drive, or how'd you get there?
no, excuse me. We lived with them for a couple of years.
Oh wow, in
There
Austin.
was no look. I don't know if your history books in school cover this anymore, but when I was in school, they did. After the war, people came home. There weren't any jobs. There weren't any There weren't the housing. Hundreds of thousands of guys came home. They they met their sweetheart, or they went back to their sweetheart. And they started families, and there was a real problem because nobody had a place to live, and people lived with their parents.
Okay,
I mean, it wasn't just us. It was That's where it was. There was no housing. I mean,
right,
because everything for 4 or 5 years, everything went to the war.
right.
They cut back on food for provisions and sent food for, you had to have, what was it? You know, you had to have government issued things to show that you have a right to buy sugar or
Mm-hmm.
flour
Yeah,
or all that thing. Everything was shortage, including housing. So yeah, we lived with grandma and grandpa Jackson
yeah,
for a couple of years, and my parents built a house, probably on
right.
land that that they bought from a relative, up in
Mm-hmm.
that's in Jollyville.
Okay.
So yeah, I loved living
Good thing
there.
though that the United States wasn't bombed all to hell. So
What?
meaning, unlike the other participants in the war, the United States infrastructure of the homeland, like the United States proper, remained unscathed. So that's good.
Hey, listen to me. Listen to me.
That's
I'm
good.
a I'm a history person. I'm a history major. I was
Oh,
alive then. You're not telling me anything I don't know.
just
I know the
just
United
throwing it
States
out
wasn't
there.
bombed.
I'm just throwing it out there, Mom. You
Oh,
don't
is
have to
this
get you don't
still
have to
for
get upset.
posterity? Huh?
I'm just this is part of the conversation. I'm just saying you're
This
painting a
isn't a
very bleak
conversation.
you're painting
You're
a
tr-
very bleak picture, and I was just saying that it wasn't as bad as other people had it. That's all.
oh God, of course it wasn't as bad as other people had
Okay,
it.
well, I was just saying it. You don't have to get all upset with me. Just
But you're
mentioning it.
talking to me like you're telling me something that's new to me.
I was just adding it to the conversation. I know you
Well,
probably
can
all
you
I know you
can
already
you
know this.
forget? Can you forget the audience? I thought we were
This
just
I
having
would
a
have said this,
conversation.
Mom. I would have said this if we were just talking in your living room. I would
Well,
have
that would
mentioned
have
that.
been insulting.
I know you know it. I was just mentioning it
Why?
because I'm adding it to the conversation.
Well,
I'm just, that's
I
how.
wasn't painting that bleak a picture.
Yeah,
I
it
had a
sounded pretty
lovely
bleak to
time.
me. It sounded bleak to me. It's okay. Let's move on. So,
Uh-huh.
so you lived with. I actually didn't know this that you lived with Grandma and Grandpa Jackson. Those
Of
first few
course.
years in Austin.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And this is what is now downtown Austin. And it was,
Right. And
it's like just a few blocks walk down to the Capitol. It was by the train station. It was
right.
urban, but she had a cow but it was in the 1950, it was late 1940s. So,
And the
Wasn't that
Jacksons and the
unusual.
Jacksons and your and the Waldens, so your great ma's parents, um, had lived in that area for generations, right?
Apparently, since the 1850s,
Okay.
because that's when Texas became. They didn't come that part of the family. I don't know about other people, but they apparently played it safe, waited for the Civil War to be over, waited for Texas to get its independence, and then waited for Texas to become a state. And then they came down from Tennessee. And they apparently, oh, there was a big movement, uh, of the great influx of people from Tennessee to Texas. That's the
Right.
reason you might not know this, but that's the reason the Tennessee accent and the Texas accent are
Are
very
similar.
much
They're
alike.
similar. Yeah, I
Every
can.
time I hear somebody from Tennessee talk, it's just like old homework. It's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
very soft Southern accent.
So you
And,
mentioned the. Go ahead.
another thing, the reason they were in Tennessee is because, and I only learned this a couple of, about 20 or 30 years ago, not in school at all, but the government used to, if you fought in the revolution and came home safely, they gave you some land where the land was, uh, the Jacksons were from North Carolina,
Mm.
and so in North Carolina, of course, way back when, went
You
way
said
out,
fought in the
way
Revolution or the Civil War? The Revolution.
the Revolution,
Right.
Revolution.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
the
they gave.
people got land.
I didn't know that till I didn't learn that in
Yeah.
school. I only learned
Yeah,
it
the
about 20
government.
years ago.
That was they had a lot of land they could just give away.
Yeah, yeah. Go fill up go all the way to the Pacific. And
Right.
anyway, so that's how it went from North Carolina to the middle of
Middle of
Tennessee,
Texas.
and then of course they were all farmers, and there's only so many. It has to be a pretty big farm for it to be productive. And if you have too many sons, it has to be divided up too much. And so people kept moving a little further
Hmm.
west, a little further west, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how it was on Dad's side too.
Yeah.
Um. Cool. All right. Well. Now let's talk about yourself. Just for we're gonna go up to an hour, so 10, 15 more minutes. 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, give me some of your earliest memories, just flashes of
Well,
visions
I've already mentioned,
of being a child.
the, the
The
chickens. I loved the
chickens.
chickens. I loved it, gathering the eggs. I thought it was just magical.
Aw,
And
that's so
it was
cute.
so scary to reach your hand under the warm chicken and just move him out of the way, give me your egg. And
That's
that
cute.
was scary. I had to learn how to do that.
Didn't
And,
you did someone fall into the hog's pen or something like that? Or is that just something from a
well,
TV show I
I
saw?
think well, the girl in, you know,
Little House on the
Somewhere Over the
Prairie?
Rainbow,
Oh, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right?
she falls into the pig pen.
You mean the Wizard of Oz?
Wizard of Oz,
Well,
yes. And
okay, so that didn't
that
that
was
was just
confusing to me because there's one memory I do have from Grandma and Grandpa Walden's, not Walden,
Jackson.
Forsman,
Oh,
is I accidentally dropped my doll in the pig
that's
pen.
that's what I'm thinking of actually. That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking of. You
and the
dropped your
pig ate
doll
it,
in the
and
yeah.
I got a little freaked out about it.
That's exactly what I remember.
That's
Okay,
that's
so
what.
I'm not stupid.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not stupid. But when Dorothy falls in the pig pen, that really
The traumatic.
got me too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you probably told me that once, that when Dorothy falls in the pig pen, it reminds me of your doll.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Actually, this reminds me of another traumatic memory, which is not yours, but which is Grandma Jackson's memory. She wrote her in her memoirs, in her memoir, as they say. She said that when she was a little girl, there was like someone had a guitar on a shelf, and she wanted to play that guitar, so she got a stick and she tried to like grab it from the shelf so she could play the guitar, and it fell, and she got in trouble.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that from her writing. But I'm not.
Well,
I
I'll
guess that's
post it. I will post it to this video.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Got a whooping
I mean,
probably.
I don't, I don't remember it like word for word, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
scene like that in her memoir. I like saying
Oh,
that.
stop saying that word.
Please. You ever see that movie Burn After Reading?
Yes.
That's where I'm getting that from.
Oh,
Where
oh, okay.
where John Malkovich is like, I'm working on my memoir, and his wife just bursts out laughing because
No, but I
that, that
believe it.
that's what that's
It is a pretty funny
that's
movie.
that's how little she regards her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
She's like,
this.
what on earth? Why on earth would you write your memoir? Anyway, what?
There's something strange about that movie now, though, because remember when she went to the.
Russian embassy, Soviet embassy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's where she went, and it was, and all the people from the CIA were like, the Russians, and now, yeah, the Russians. It's like we've gone full circle. Once more, the Russians are back being the enemy.
Yeah,
That
it's
that
crazy.
that 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 movie. Well, perceptible, more perceived enemies than they were when that movie was shot. Is what I'm
Yes,
trying to
very
say.
very much so. Yeah, so that's part of the joke in the movie is that like
Right,
this woman's like living in TV fantasy
right.
world, like it's not
She's
real
living in the 50s.
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so any other memories other than the doll getting in the pig pen and the eggs?
No, no, that's it.
That's all your memories. That's all. Okay, end of conversation then.
No, I thought we
I'm
were.
just, that was a joke. Mom, chill. What's wrong?
Well, this is tough. I'm digging through
Okay, 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 okay.
the
I'm letting you
debris.
dig. No stress, no pressure.
Yeah, right.
You're not paying for this.
Oh, I'm paying, baby.
You
Anyway.
should be paying.
I have great memories because it was, your childhood at that age. You look back and it's just like it's, you know,
Magical.
magical. All right.
Yeah. Yep. My childhood was pretty magical.
I, we're very poor. We didn't know where the next meal was coming from, but I didn't know that.
Right. You never do. How about your siblings? You know, any memories of
Well,
them?
there was only Mary and Clark at this point.
Right.
And Grandma had names for everybody, and
Grandma
you
had
know,
names for everybody?
yeah,
What do you mean?
you know, Clark was Butchie.
Oh, Butchie.
I was uh, Cherry Blossom. Mary was Mary Sanses, and
Mary Sansis?
her name is Mary
I know
Frances
that, but why'd she call her Mary Sansis?
because she's just being,
It's being
you
silly.
give little kids pootsy names.
Yeah, okay.
Where it's like the
No,
old
no, no, I understand. I
It's
thought
like
there was someone named
Russian. It's like a Russian novel. Every character has 10
right.
nicknames.
I mean, Alden calls Henry Benry.
It's kind of like
It's
that.
kind of like that, right? He's Henry the Benry. So yeah. Any other memories? You wanna put this conversation to bed, and we'll do it again sometime.
Well,
If you can't think of it, I mean, all right.
give
I'll
me.
let you think. I'll give you a second to think.
Okay, it was just I just loved that house. In fact, I used to, growing up and living in different places until I was well into adulthood. I would dream about that house, Grandma and Grandpa Jackson's house, and the
Does that house still
river.
exist?
No, no, it got torn down in the '70s, and this massive uh, Four Seasons luxury hotel is there. It's right above the river.
Should I knock
Because
on their door and claim my birthright?
oh, I went there. Went to
And
the
you gave them
bar.
what for? I'm
I
telling
went
you,
there
people.
in the middle of the day by myself and had a drink at the bar and found myself telling the girl behind the bar that this used to be where my grandparents' house was. And she's like, oh, that's nice.
That's what they all say.
Right. It's like, oh,
How many
Carolyn.
drinks? Here, have another drink.
No, no, it was just, I mean, I drove myself over there. It was just,
Wow.
yeah, I drove there. I guess I drove in Austin,
If your
downtown Austin.
if your grandparents just held out, they could have sold off to the Four Seasons and just made a killing.
Excuse me. It was a rent house. I
Oh,
don't think that they ever owned their own home.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
That sucks.
yeah, yeah,
But your grandparents on your mom's side probably own their own house, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They don't know. In fact,
Well, you just
after
made it
grand,
significantly less magical. Thanks. It was a rental.
no, it was magical.
It was a
When you're a
rental.
little kid,
You can rent.
I didn't realize that until I was older. When a little kid, you don't care about if somebody's renting or owning their own home.
It's like, these are magical eggs. What's your mortgage like?
Oh, Lee, you're getting on my last nerve.
I'm trying to be funny.
Are you?
I guess I'm
Maybe I'm too
failing.
tired.
No, I guess I'm
Huh?
failing. I guess I'm failing.
Oh, you're failing. You're falling on your face.
Okay. Okay. So anyway,
Anyway,
let's wrap this thing up,
oh,
shall we? Oh, you want to keep going? Okay, great.
a little
I thought
bit.
I was
Say
getting on your nerves.
you are. So
Oh,
stop getting on my nerves. Just, you know.
okay.
Does anybody else have trouble with yours or just me?
I don't know. Not really. I got lots of friends.
Huh?
I got lots of friends.
Okay. You don't have a lot of moms.
I don't have any. I only have one mom. You're right.
Okay,
So
be
I should.
nice to me.
Sorry, trying to say I'll be nice to you. Okay, I'm trying.
Hey, hey, no barking in the house.
I set this up. I set this interview up to be nice to you.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
This is being.
Okay.
This is me being nice to you.
Well, I'm trying to remember other stuff. Oh, and another thing I really loved is it wasn't that far from the um, train station where my Aunt May's great Aunt May's husband worked, Jesse Long, and I think that's when I fell in love with the train horn because you just moan at night, and
Oh
nobody
yeah.
had air conditioning, so you slept with the windows open in the
Right.
summer,
Yeah, I
and
like that sound. Train horn at night.
yeah, oh, it just it's just so neat, so
Would it
neat.
echo through the valley?
Yes, it would echo through the valley.
Could you set your watch by it? Like
Oh,
there's the
shut up.
fourth. No, there's some people set their watch by. Oh, there's the 418 coming out of Houston. Now let me set my watch. Nothing. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm saying that's
No,
what.
well, good,
What
because you're not succeeding.
I'm no. I'm not trying
Lee,
to be funny.
don't
Look.
try. Listen, Lee, I'm 100 years old. Don't tell me what people used to do.
I am referring to my research that I did for my PhD, mother, when I was reading about the onset of the Industrial Revolution and
I
the
know,
train
I
system.
know, I
And it
know,
was
but
it was
I know that.
very, when
If I
trains
don't
first
know,
started going through the rural landscape, it was very disruptive, but people would, it kind of insinuated clockwork mentality on the rural knight. That's all. Okay,
okay, Lee.
let's change the subject. I don't know. I get on your nerves so much.
I know, but because you're telling me things that I know not only as a student of history, but I was there.
You were there in the 19th century?
Kinda. My spirit was.
No, Mom, when I say some things, it's not really just for you, it's just for the general fund of knowledge.
But you're not teaching a class right now. You're just talking to me. I thought this was just going to be a conversation.
Right, but all I said was some people set their watches by it, and you may or may not know that, but I was just referring to something I'd read.
No, of course.
I don't
That's
know. I don't know exactly everything you know. I can presume. I assume you know some things, but I don't know
look,
everything that you know.
until the railroad started running, people didn't really need clocks. They didn't really need watches or timepieces.
Yeah,
They went
I
by
know.
the sun. That's when people started carrying watches, and there were clocks on the
See, now
street
you're doing
corners,
it to me. You're
things
telling me
like
things
that.
I already know. I wrote a whole
Well, then
dissertation on the
I thought
subject.
if that's a subject you want to talk about, let's dive into it, because
Okay,
I'm
yeah, that's a
more.
great subject. It's a very interesting.
It is.
But
It
but
is.
that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about
All
you.
right.
Okay.
Okay, then.
All
Why
right
are
then.
we
Uh,
interrupting what I'm saying?
all right. This is good. This is great. So we've gone on an hour, and it sounds like
Oh, and you know what? You see, and one thing I really loved is looking at the funny papers in the Austin uh, American Statesman, which
oh,
was the newspaper my grandpa and grandma, and
subscribe to. Yeah.
it's still in production. And
Oh wow.
the funny papers were always in the newspaper, but on Sunday they were in color,
Oh
and
right. Well, that
that
was the
was
case when I was a kid.
great. Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And they were great. You know.
And what's your favorite comic strip at the time?
Oh, I don't. Oh, I don't know,
Okay.
because
You're just
I
speaking
couldn't
generally.
read. I was just looking at pictures. I
Oh,
couldn't
oh, oh,
read.
oh, oh, I see.
But speaking of my other grandmother, I think I've told you this, that she, after she became a widow, she's all alone, and I'm sure she never really worked outside the home, and she used to, she read comic books. She read, all the classics back then. This was the heyday of comic books. She read, Superman and Batman and
Mm,
Captain America and Little Lulu and Nancy and Sluggo and all those guys.
yeah.
And she, in like every year or so, every 1 or 2 years, she'd send us a big box of the comic books she was finished with.
Oh wow.
And it was just like heaven.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, who sent you these?
Grandma Forsman from
Okay.
Illinois.
Yeah, she read those and she sent them to you.
Yeah, we should be done with them. Should send them. I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure she's, shared them with her other grandkids, but her other grandkids kids were, lived nearby. So,
Yeah. Okay.
every
So she
year
had other
or every
grandkids. How many sisters? How many siblings did your mom have? Like three
she had
sisters?
f- four sisters, I
Four
think.
sisters.
I
So
think
they
there
did
were
they
five
did they stay
sisters.
around Flora?
I don't think any of them. I think all of them stayed in Southern
So
Illinois.
your mom's the only one that ventured off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although
Cool.
eventually, uh, they my aunt Evelyn lived in Texas for a while because I know they came to visit us when we lived in Port Lavaca.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right, Mom. Well, thanks for the interview, and maybe we could do this again sometime.
Oh, I hope so. I
Okay.
did before I got hot and sweaty because his room was so hot, and
Right.
I opened the window, but so that made me grouchy. I always get grouchy when I get hot.
Yeah, I know. I know. Okay.